And
him
Hasan did the entire
reinstating it.
interview on the premise that he was a Houthi, so that's why we're
No,
judging how
no.
we
During
interviewed
the
him,
second
thinking he
question,
was a
no.
Houthi.
During the second question, no. During the second question of the interview, he during the second question he asked if he's a Houthi. So no, the majority of the interview
And the guy,
was
what
on the
was
premise
the
that
guy's answer? Do you remember word for word what his answer was, or
he
roughly?
said he's a Yemeni, not a
Yeah, he
Houthi.
didn't. Did he say I'm not a Houthi, or did he just say I'm just a kid from Yemen? He just said I'm a kid from Yemen, right?
He implied that he's not a Houthi. He
Okay,
implied.
again, but you understand that Hasan, even with that interpretation, you understand that Hasan said it doesn't matter, right? He'd have treated him the same way if he thought he was.
He said he would have conducted the interview differently. That's what I've saw.
Well, this water tastes like
a little
shit.
bit different. He said that again, and anyways, what the Houthi.
Okay, so here we have a Hasan fan who is trying to say, I guess, the kid was not Houthi, even though the premise of the interview was based on the fact that he was a Houthi and that he never denied being a Houthi, and Hasan was advertising it as an interview with a Houthi rebel. Is that okay? All right, dude.
He's doing in the Red Sea like a sabotage campaign, which barely caused.
By the way, okay, again, I just want to say, Hasan advertised it as an interview with a Houthi, okay, Tim Houthi, all right? And then afterwards, Hasan just went like, oh, well, when he got pushback, he's like, oh, he was a Houthi, and it was
causing any deaths.
And even if he was a Houthi, it wouldn't matter. My entire point is that Houthis, it doesn't matter if the person's a Houthi. That's my entire point.
Okay, wait, hang on. Let's just do one point at a time. First of all, okay. So, do you think the kid is a Houthi supporter?
He was just a Yemeni teenager, and he was like Anne Frank, grew up in the genocide.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think the kid is a Houthi? Do you think he's a kind of like maybe like a Houthi propagandist? Because Hasan thought he was media trained, right?
Yeah, he might do like I don't think he's a militant. He might like do like he might. I don't know if he's paid, but yeah, he might be paid to do Houthi propaganda. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, he might.
The day, sorry, and I'm just telling you, the day that you ever see me glazing the out of any Israeli settler or anyone, even a fraction of what Hasan did for that kid, then yeah, that's mental. Yeah, sorry. What the fuck are you talking about?
There's a difference between what the Israeli settlers are doing and what the Houthis are doing.
Yeah, I know. The Houthis are worse to their own people. Yes, the Houthis kill more Arabs than settlers ever could. Yeah.
Lunar, why are you not pointed out that you were on the ground asking questions?
How much of the
actual questions to Yishai Flesher compared to, wait, do you like One Piece?
Yeah, no, but obviously I should have asked Yishai if there was a KFC in Yemen, they'd have left me alone, right?
Lunar was in the place where this guy was glazing the out of it, and he's like asked him about the most horrific massacre that took place in that place, and like to see if it's justified or not.
Yeah,
that is an actual fucking question, and he immediately got really annoyed. That's how you ask questions. Did that what
did they have a KFC in Yemen? Yeah, the guy said like, oh, we have like 1 or 2 KFC in Yemen, and then Hasan was like, oh, what? No way of KFC in Yemen. It's so cool. Just kill me.
Hasan ask.
Before we go on to that, how much Arabs have the Houthis killed? Because I think like the famine in Yemen, I'm going to attribute all the deaths to Saudi Arabia because they're the one that started it. Yemen is a country which
the UN. One at a time. The UN disagrees with you because they also held the Houthis and like at least partially responsible.
Well, that was after the famine started. That was 4 years.
Yeah, and they held the Houthis responsible for exacerbating the famine to the point that UN workers didn't even want to send.
Well, when you started, people are going to go to just desperate. People are going to
no, they didn't do it because they were. What you think they kidnapped aid workers because they were desperate?
No, I was thinking of another thing. I was thinking of them like taking food. I was thinking for the thing.
That's not why the UN didn't want to bring aid in. What do you think? So out of desperation, they made sure that aid couldn't get to particular parts of the country that was under their control.
I'd have to look into.
No, they stole aid so they could fleece their population. That's what they did.
Before we get into that, you agree that the famine would have not started. So Yemen's a country not very arable. Yemen's a country which imports 90% of the food. I think it's even higher. So when Saudi Arabia did a full-on blockade, blocked everything from every port, they're the ones who are the primary. You can say the Houthis have it, but probably Saudi Arabia 90% responsible.
Why
for,
90%? How do you know 90? Is that just arbitrary? We've gone from 100% to 90. Why?
All I know is vast majority. Famine would have not started. Like I saw the deaths in the deaths in the conflict. It was really low until like the blockade started. And once the blockade, especially when they did the full blockade under the missile, people start dying dying on a rapid scale. So you can see from like the deaths in the time that Saudi Arabia are the primary one when they especially
we're not talking about it's just that funny when you say primary, that means you've got a range of like 51% to 90%. It's just funny that you chose 90 because you're instinctively
remember the West
the
liberal West supported that. Remember the UK, France, all of
and I don't support it. Why are you trying to pivot? Why are you pivoting? Why did you choose 90% when the range is 51 to 90?
I'm just talking about liberalism.
No, you're trying to pivot from the fact that you
Wait, we're talking about liberalism now? I thought we were talking about Tim Houthi.
Instinctively chose 90% Saudi responsibility, even though mostly can range from 51 to like 99. Why do you go for 90? Like, why did you go for that?
I don't know. I'm just saying
because you have an instinctive sympathy for the Houthis. That's why, right?
No, think. Let me answer. I'm just saying the famine would have never started, never ever started, if the Saudis did not do what they did.
No one disagrees with that. The contention is whether or not the Houthis bore responsibility.
Well, they exaggerated, but like, can you?
Okay, so what Lonerbox is saying is, did the Houthis do that? I mean, I'm sure the Houthis did actually starve out Yemen, no? Fuck, I need to do research. Fuck, but I'm so addicted to this game. Okay, hold on. I'll do
research. They made it worse, but like I'm just saying they would have never started.
So going back to our original statement,
I blame the Saudis on it.
So going back to our original statement, we're walking back on the idea that
yes, the Houthis have been accused of obstructing aid delivery and distribution in Yemen, often by delaying, blocking, or diverting aid programs. They have also been accused of diverting relief items to their own organization, blocking aid at ports they control, and preventing aid assessments to identify people's needs. Wow. What do you know? Okay, cool. I guess it is the Houthis that are starving out the people. Just another example of Hasan's fan base and Hasan himself doing, Islamophobic platforming, okay? This is anti-Arab. All right, it's Arab phobic. Yeah. These guys are all pro starvation, okay? Pro death.
100% of this famine deaths were
caused
by
strike school
Saudis.
Buses. They strike school buses.
Stop pivoting. Going back to the first thing you said about the famine, we're walking back from the point that 100% of the deaths caused by that famine were caused by Saudi, right? But some of it's attributable to the Houthis.
I say 100% because it would have never started without the Saudis' actions. That's why I say 100%. It would have not started without the.
By the way, people who take aid away from people, especially when humanitarian efforts are trying to humanitarian people are trying to aid people as much as possible, they're literally the evilest people, actually satanic demons. Okay?
Saudi fully blockading that country, and I think we can all agree with that.
So this is what this guy's defending.
Even though the Houthis exacerbated it, meaning that there are people who died, they wouldn't have died had the Houthis distributed inappropriately.
Still, it would have never started. It would have never started without this.
This kind of reminds me of it would have never happened if I was president.
Okay.
So
nice, thank you.
Listen, that's fine. Yeah, if you just want to.
By the way, this logic is
the fucking Trump defense,
because you could use the same exact logic for October 7th on Gaza and what's happening to Gaza right now. Who started it? Who caused it? Who caused it? You can't blame Israel. Who caused it?
Oh yes, two Arabs fighting. This is what I like saying.
The oppression. Okay. Yeah, we all know that.
I forgot he's retarded. My bad. That's
Israeli oppression. So
3 Arabs fighting.
We don't know how much Arabs the Houthis have killed. We don't know. I don't think it's that high. I think it's definitely.
They have sex.
Probably low.
It's not that high.
Sex slaves
lower
too.
Than the tens of thousands.
Houthis have sex slaves, child soldiers, enslaved
I wonder
minorities.
how much. I would like to know how much people have died in Yemen through military conflict, through gunfights and bombings.
Talking about
Houthis
direct
would be,
deaths.
Palestinian loner chatter.
Houthis would not. Yeah,
Sev is a Palestinian. Well, that just puts a lot of that puts a lot of weight.
Houthis will
opinions
not be
a little bit,
responsible
right?
for any of the bombing deaths because they don't have any
didn't know
air
that.
force, obviously.
Good to know.
So
Well, they would be responsible if they set up in
Yeah, I think the
civilian
bombings,
areas.
hang on, the bombings are estimated to have killed about 20,000 people, I think, from 2022 onwards.
Yeah, and we see how accurate they were. School buses, man.
Yeah, I
School
know. The
buses
Saudi,
is
only
where
a
they
third
hit.
of their strikes hit military targets. Yes, another third hit civilians. Yes, another third hit basically missed
the
completely.
beautiful
Yes.
liberal world supported that. Beautiful liberal world.
Yeah, I don't know why do you keep saying things that no one disagrees with? Like, yeah.
I'm just saying how broken
That
liberalism
doesn't.
is.
Yeah,
I
but
always like to point
that
out.
doesn't mean you support.
Dude, who the fuck is talking about liberalism? Dude, I can't. Like, it's one of the most boring. Was that a cat? That was me. Like, it's one of the most boring ways to analyze anything forever. Like, it's just like, who cares? Who cares about liberalism?
The
Oh my
Houthis.
god.
Why did the Houthis come to power?
They ousted the Saudi puppet. I
Why?
forgot. And they ousted him, and then he got replaced with another Saudi puppet.
Did the Houthis?
So they wanted
Did the
to
Houthis
take-
oust Saleh? Just the Houthis?
No, they did it with what? I remember reading about this.
Liberalism is Saudi
So they
content.
ousted him with the help of
Oh.
the former. So first they ousted the guy steps down. The first guy steps down. What's his
Saleh,
name?
right?
What's his name? Saleh, and with the help of Saleh, they take down the other guy who was again a Saudi puppet.
So they aligned
who
with the
again was-
first person who was ousted by the Arab Spring.
Yeah, but then they betrayed that first person, so it doesn't
I
matter.
mean-
Then they betrayed that.
So they
Then they
allied. So they
betrayed that
literally.
first
So they
person.
allied with the person who was kicked out by the Arab
Well,
Spring.
that person didn't gain any power, and that person was not supposed to gain any power. So they did. So they did not do anything.
So they cynically
wrong,
abused the power vacuum and allied with the ousted person who fell because
Well,
of
it's a
popular uprising.
That's how I look at it. It's a
Yeah, and they
popular uprising.
exploited the results of a popular uprising to ally with the person who was kicked out by the popular uprising and abused the
And
power
then, but
vacuum
who
to
got
seize power.
replaced by who got replaced? The person that got replaced. What was his name? I forgot. He was a Saudi
Hadi.
puppet. He was still a dictator.
And-
Yeah, Hadi. He was a Saudi. Do you agree that he was a Saudi puppet?
Yeah, do you agree
Hadi,
that the
do you
Houthis are
agree
Iranian
that-
puppets?
No. Well, no. I think.
Okay. Alright, I guess. Okay. Alright, man. By the way, I just want to say again, all right, there is at least overwhelming evidence that they are backed by Iran. It's like it's indisputed at this point that they are Iranian puppets, okay? That the Houthis are super Iranian backed. Yeah, so, you know, again, it's just kind of hypocritical how people would assign all this agency to, you know, Saudi Arabia and the Americas for funding these people, but then they would never, ever, ever, ever say that the Houthis are also backed by Iran, okay?
The allies with Iran,
Fuck,
but they're
man.
not puppets.
For the record, again, okay, Saudi Arabia and Iran are they are locked in a conflict of using satellite states to attack each other or using their puppets to attack each other. I think it's fine to say like some countries are a Saudi Arabian puppet state or whatever, right? Because they are considered a leader of the Middle East, right? It is the America of the Middle East. However, you know, there's also fucking there's also but Iran does crazy shit to uproot all the other Arabic countries, even though all the other Arabic countries like their governments are Saudi aligned. Like what Iran does is that they're like the Russia of the they are the Russia of the Middle Eastern world, where they would fund all of these rebels and terrorist groups. A lot like what people accuse the CIA of doing, right? People accuse the CIA of funding these rebel groups and of funding these traitors and terrorists and all these people. But that's what Iran is ironically like absolutely doing, right? That's what Iran is literally doing. Yeah, so you know, it's just kind of ironic. Very sad, okay? Very sad. Turkey has basically overtaken Saudi place in geopolitics. Okay.
I think they're allied with Iran. They're not puppets.
I think
but
backed by
you
Iran,
know,
they,
they
like,
wanna
they
think-
literally
you know
swear
how much
allegiance
Saudi
to
Arabia's
Ayatollah. Okay, they use the same slogans and everything.
They're not puppets.
Okay.
They're not puppets.
How
They're
did they get
different
their
sectors
arms?
of the
How are
media.
they so well armed to take down the interim government in 2014?
Well, they had Saleh's forces with his forces, like people loyal to him. They used that.
Yeah, that's
and they
and
used the
also
help of-
I feel like Saudi has so many billionaires that a single family can support groups without the government involved. Maybe I don't know. Like I don't know. Like it requires an absurd amount of money to back up like any one of these like groups. It takes a whole country to do so.
the help of Iran.
yeah.
Iran's
So they
quite
ally
large.
with
I
someone
don't
who
know.
gets ousted
You
by
could
a
be right.
popular uprising, and then Iran. I mean, how this is like the most cynical fucking
Iran-
power grab. I don't.
Well, this is. Well, it's popular. So if it was unpopular, then I'd have a problem with it. But this is what the people in Yemen wanted. I think.
The
I
people in
haven't
the
seen
Yemen
The people in Yemen wanted? Like, I'm sorry, was the Houthis voted in? Was the Houthis voted in? By the way, I just want to say, like this isn't what the people in Yemen wanted. What people in Yemen want is food, which is what the Houthis deny the people of Yemen by stealing aid and confiscating them and detaining aid workers. All right, this is not what the people in Yemen want, actually. If I may be so bold to say,
wanted not the person that the Houthi sided with. They ousted him. They literally
but
just said this.
He didn't go into power, so the Houthis never planned to put him back in power.
Yeah, they just cynically allied with him and his forces. That's just very funny.
Yeah, but they never planned to put him in power. I remember I had a resemblance of this because you always ask that question. So yeah, and they took their country back. You know how much Saudi Arabia's been involved in Yemen with their coups, like with their murdering of like military officials that wanted to like do reforms. Yes, obviously it's a good thing that they take country back from Saudi Arabia, which is
Yemeni yearn for sex slavers. I don't know much about that part, but all I know is that the last time slavery was reported in Yemen was like 10 years ago. Right? 10 years ago, they had slavery in Yemen, like documented slave trade.
Which is one of the worst.
What do you mean take the country back? What is the Houthi? You know the Houthis rule with a iron fist, right? What do you mean take their country back? It's one dictator, foreign backed.
Yeah, I don't know
Right,
why
it's
fucking
controlled
say that.
by-
What the fuck?
Well, I'm saying this is the Houthis are not a foreign group. Are not for they're a local uprising. So they took it back for their Yemenis. So they took it back and
Dude, they haven't took back shit. What are they talking about? Oh my god. Dude, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. I'm sorry. Dude, we literally watched an infographic video on the Yemenis war on this stream before. And like nothing he says matches up to any of the information given.
Dude, they took it back for the Yemenis. They don't give a fuck about the Yemenis. They're literally bringing themselves back into the terror listing and fucking themselves with sanctions rather than taking care of their own people so they can do fucking
their local population. Yeah.
against in the Red Sea. What are you talking about? They don't give a fuck about their own people. That's why they need to do these fucking pump displays in the Red Sea. What are you talking about?
That's America putting them back in the.
Why did America put them back? Are they sorry? Do you think the Houthis were? Do you think
Israel?
Do you think the Houthis
That's
are?
why they put them
Wait,
back.
do you think the Houthis are out there like pursuing trade deals and pursuing good relations with the rest of the world so that they can build up their population and stop people out of poverty?
I'm thankful they don't pursue good relations with the devil in the West, with America. If any Arab country should cut off ties with America immediately. Stop selling oil. They're the ones who are funding the genocide.
Oh
yes,
my God.
they're doing a good thing. No, they should be
Where do you live?
Ahmed al-Sharaa. They should be like Ahmed
Hang on, I'm gonna
al-Sharaa,
shut this
fucking
call.
kissing Trump's, fucking sucking Trump's dick and planning. Oh,
No, you're still here. Don't worry.
planning to build a Trump Tower in thing. They should be like him. No, it's a good thing that they're not allies with the West.
Well,
The
you
West
think
are the devils. The West, what
West
crimes
is
did
the
West
devil?
do to them?
I mean,
bombing school buses.
look at these. So look at these countries that
supporting
actually
that.
have reasonable relations with the West. So like the Lebanese government right now has reasonable relations with the West. Jordan does. Egypt does. Saudi does. Qatar does.
Yeah, all puppets. All puppets.
Okay.
Yeah,
Compared
all
to
puppets.
what? Iran, the Houthis, Hezbollah. What the fuck? If bro, you're like which of these countries would you want to live on?
Do you
under?
agree
What
that
the fuck?
Egypt is a puppet state? Do you agree that Egypt is a puppet state? Answer
Yes.
this.
This guy isn't based in Foodshops Pilled, but also like, do you guys remember the little thing that we watched? Like, I'm not sure if people remember. Like nothing. God, we need to rewatch the Yemenis war documentary because that documentary is so good. Not sorry, it was like 20 minutes. It's a YouTube video. It's not a documentary. But, like, it's so good because it explains so much, and it shows how much this guy is lying.
They're
Sorry, not lying, just straight up misinformed, super misinformed.
all puppet states. They are all unpopular puppet states. Yes.
Yes, but
What is
yes.
Iran?
Are we to learn about genocide? Why is everything comes back to genocide?
What's
Yes.
what's happening with
Oh my
the
God.
you like you're saying the Axis? Here we
Sure.
should disalign from the West, which means you are going to be in the hands of the Axis. Is the Iranian regime popular? Who's dealt with more? Who's dealt with more popular uprisings in the last 10 years? Iran or Egypt?
Whenever I said Iran
Who
is popular,
has-
whenever I said Iran is popular to its own local population, I've never said it's popular to its own local population. I've never ever claimed that.
Yeah.
I'm saying to Iran's popular to Iran was popular to the majority of Iraqis. Iran's more popular to the majority of the Palestinians. Iran's more popular in Egypt as well, if you look at polls, than Saudi Arabia's, based off like their actions. If you ask based on their, like, there was this poll like based on their like the actions regarding their foreign policy in Egypt regarding Palestine, they're more popular. Iran is more popular than yeah, just look at the PSR people that was like earlier released, like which actors are you most satisfied in? Iran was at 50% with Palestinians. Obviously, I don't know.
Yeah,
about
obviously,
you.
because like
Before,
again, because
Saudi
Palestinians watch a
Arabia,
lot of fucking
Saudi Arabia was
yeah, because
Saudi Arabia
Palestinians.
was at
What's
2%.
what's the most watched or at least one of the most watched news organizations in the West Bank? Like
Al
most
Jazeera.
yeah, Al Jazeera. And who runs Al Jazeera? Qatar. Who is Qatar like quite friendly with? Iran.
Wait,
Of course they would. What the fuck are you talking about?
Before we get on this, Saudi Arabia was at 2% on their satisfaction with Palestinians, because everybody knows that Saudi Arabia is a puppet state that kissed the ring of the West, and that allows.
Why is he talking about the West like this? You know what? I really wish, like when people talk about America and the West, that it's as cool as they make it sound, because they make it sound like the coolest fucking mafia like place ever. Oh, the mafia gives out aid to people to control the population. The mafia goes in whenever they seem to find things that is against their ideology all by themselves. This mafia is like, I really wish like they're as cool as that. I really wish NATO would do more, okay? NATO needs to do what these guys perceive NATO to be, okay? They perceive NATO and all of these other organizations as like monstrous evil, like Western devil worshippers. Meanwhile, like I'm here like sitting here pissed that they don't do more. I'm here sitting here pissed that, NATO doesn't go out and fucking start bombing Russia,
That thing.